turbocharge the economy, who's done nothing more than kick the
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member.
to
The
do
time has
better than
expired.
that.
Well done.
Call the Honourable Phil Heatley.
Mr Speaker, it is true the National Party, as Leanne Dalziel refers to it, is reverting to type. That is true. We're reverting to type. We are managing the economy well, because that's what the National Party does. And if you wandered up and down Queen Street, or more famously Cameron Street of Whangarei, if you wandered up and down that street and you talked to Green Party voters, or Lindsay Tish talked to Green Party voters, the Speaker did, talk to Green Party voters, or spoke to Labour Party voters, or spoke to National Party voters, and you said to them, well, on balance, we appreciate that you don't necessarily vote for the National Party, but looking at the polls, you probably do at the moment. But even if you didn't, I'm using the collective you, Mr Speaker, not so much you, but you're speaking to this person and you said, we'll call them Thomas to make it easy. If you spoke to Thomas and said, look, we appreciate you don't necessarily vote for the National Party, but you probably do looking at the polls at the moment, even if you don't vote for the National Party, who do you think manages the economy well? And you would find that most people would come back and say, well, the National Party, yes, on balance, are better economic managers. And it's the same if you said to them, look, I appreciate you may not necessarily be a Labour Party voter, Thomas, or a National Party voter or a Green Party voter, but if you're involved in social engineering, if you're really, really good at social engineering, what party are you? Well, most people would say, well, the Labour Party are better at social engineering, the National Party are better at managing the economy, and yes, we have returned to type. And you can see quite clearly at the moment that we've got a budget here which says that we're now going to return the country to surplus in about 2014-15, a year sooner. That was even forecast last December. And in fact, 2 or 3 years ago, the country wouldn't have believed that you would be able to return the country's books that much sooner, let alone the year 2014-15. So you've basically got New Zealand out there with all sorts of voting preferences, understanding two things. Yes, the Nats manage the economy better on balance, always have. We agree with Leanne Dalziel. The National Party has returned to type. They're managing the economy better. And secondly, a huge surprise, and I guess a country filled with a bit of hope, seeing that we're going to return the books to surplus in 2014-15. They're also very, very pleased, and I might add, there's been heartfelt concern for people of Canterbury. And to see the budget deliver $5.5 billion in the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Fund over the period of the next few years is something most New Zealanders support. They understand the need for that, and they think the National Party has got it about right. And those are the two messages, the broad messages that this government has sent and the general public has received, regardless of voting preferences. Yes, the National Party is managing the economy well. Yes, we are supporting Christchurch. I did want to spend some time on one issue that the member Clayton Cosgrove talked about, and that was his mocking receipt of the news that actually we're keeping mortgage interest rates currently at around 5.5%. And he said, big deal. Big deal. And he was very, very proud to say that when the Labour Party were the government, they were able to manage mortgage interest rates at around 8 or 9 or 10%. And he felt that that did not affect households. Can I say, Mr Speaker, to the Labour Party, that actually the best thing you can do for a first home buyer or a family paying off a mortgage or those who are coming up to retirement who would love to see their mortgage written off, the best thing you can do for them is to keep interest rates under control. So here we have a government currently managing the economy such that mortgage interest rates are around 5 or 6% against a Labor government who are managing an economy or managed an economy where mortgage interest rates were 9 or 10%. So if you quickly do the maths, that's the difference between Labor managing an economy 10%, us managing an economy at 5 or 6%, the difference being about 5% in mortgage interest rates. If people have, families have a mortgage of about $200,000 a year, the difference of 5%, you're looking at $10,000 interest a year that they're not paying under the national government, which is, about $200 a week? $10,000 a year, about $200 a week. So what we're saying is under John Key, the management of the economy is saving people roughly $10,000 a year or $200 a week, and the Labor Party think it doesn't matter. The Labor Party think $200 a week doesn't matter. I'd like to see their policy where they are writing a cheque, the Labor Party, to every householder with a $200,000 mortgage, writing a cheque of 10 grand. Because I don't see that policy. But what I do see is John Key managing an economy which saves every mortgage holder of $200,000 10 grand a year, and that's something that should be celebrated, and it's the best thing you can do for a first home buyer. So, Mr. Speaker, it was appropriate that the government through the budget ran larger deficits over the last few years to protect New Zealanders and to support jobs during the recession. Now, if the ACT Party had been in charge, you might have seen some slash and burn. You might have seen that, and you would have seen the most vulnerable families come under pressure. If the Labor Party had been in charge, you would have seen cash flying here, there and everywhere. Cash for this, cash for that, cash for every rinky-dink scheme they could possibly think of. But no, the National Party has run that very fine line on not being too hard on those welfare recipients during the recession, but also understanding that you can't throw cash at everything. And this is the election dilemma. This is the election dilemma for the Labor Party. And that is, they are going into an election where they cannot use cash for votes. No one is going to expect the normal Labor Party Phil Goff routine of a lolly scramble. No New Zealander, not a Green voter or a Labor Party voter even, is going to believe that Phil Goff can just write out cheques for every idea that comes through the post or to his door. He cannot throw cash at this, he cannot throw cash at that, he cannot throw cash at every rinky-dink scheme that he normally would, because no one accepts that under the current environment that is possible. And that is why I agree with Leanne Dalziel. The National Party is returning to type. We are managing the economy well. The Labor Party is in a difficult dilemma because they cannot return to type. They cannot throw cash at every problem this election because no one will believe it. They cannot return to type, Mr. Speaker, because they cannot promise the way that they would and the way that they have in every previous election. And I must say that managing the country through this recession has been difficult, but it is nothing like the difficult job that the Labor Party has this election when they haven't got New Zealand's hard-earned dollar to spend on votes, and I feel sorry for them.
I called